Yeah, thank you, Ollie, for inviting me to participate in the Zoom. Yeah, from what I was told, I got a kind of given an outline to talk a little bit about the RCMP's conduct on our territory, and it's interesting when you look at how everything unfolded. When you look at how everything unfolded, first of all, uh, our fight as Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs are, with Coastal GasLink, who at no time got permission, to cross Wet'suwet'en territory. And what had happened was they made application, to the BC Supreme Court and got an injunction against any of our people stopping Coastal GasLink. And this injunction wasn't just a specific injunction for individuals that were, the official land defenders. This injunction was a blanket injunction that went from one end of our territory to the other end of our territory, impacting all of the Wet'suwet'en that were defending their lands. And when that came about, you could tell that it was very politically motivated because what had happened was the moment the injunction was given, Madam Justice Church there very clearly stated there that the RCMP will have a discretion of whether they want to enforce it or not. And weeks later, the RCMP came with their lethal task force, all from back east. They came in with plane loads of artillery. They came in with all this arsenal that, and for all peaceful protest. And this is the saddest part about it is we made sure nobody that was defending the land had any kind of weapons in any way, shape, or form that could provoke the RCMP. And why they came in with all of their machine guns and all of their radio blockers and helicopters, and what they were doing was trying to force us into retaliation. And once they do that, then they could eradicate you because now you're playing in their play field. But because I kept telling all our people, I says, we are going to win this with big spirits. We are not going to win it, by any kind of force in any way, shape, or form. So our spirits have to be big. We have to be strong, and we have to withstand these guys. And what they did is they used CGL's equipment, great big bulldozers, excavators, and they moved through and removed any of the trees that we had blocking the road there to stop the pipeline workers from coming in and out. And what had happened was after that injunction was given, all the house groups of the Wet'suwet'en chiefs, the hereditary chiefs, had got together and they did an eviction to CGL. And to me, I am a Laksamasu, the Sun House enforcement officer, and what I was appointed just a little over a year ago, to act in this capacity. And what had happened was I had to deal with the RCMP quite often throughout this whole campaign. But what the RCMP did there, or let me go back just a little bit. The hereditary chiefs put together an eviction notice kicking CGL off our land. And they adhered to it for a short time until they got the RCMP involved and with the lethal task force, and they started pushing back. So what the RCMP were doing is acting as basically private mercenaries there for big oil, because the whole thing was planned from the get-go, from the injunction and the lethal task force coming onto our land and removing all of our people from peaceful protests and protecting their land. So after months and months went by, CGL came onto Laksamasu territory, which I'm a part of house, and they came onto Laksamasu territory, and they were moving all of their pipe, all of their equipment in, and they were just getting ready to lay pipe. And as an enforcement officer enforcing the injunction, what I did is I gave them, warning for about a month. Just kept warning them. I says, you guys are trespassing. We have very, very stringent trespassing laws as Wet'suwet'en. And if you don't leave, I'm going to have to force you guys out. And what ended up happening after dealing with them for several weeks is that they just came in with all of this equipment. They had these big cats and excavators and rock trucks, and they started clearing our right of way, opening it up. They had it cleared all logged, and now they were plowing it all up, making way for the pipeline. And I said to them, if you don't leave, I says, I'm going to have to start seizing assets. And that's what I did. That it was Saturday. I warned them. The next day they came back, and they were still going ahead. All the workers were trying to intimidate us with their equipment by, just kind of provoking us by driving close to us, and while we were on the right of way. And what ended up happening was I just got few of our Laksamasu people and few of our supporters, and we went and we decommissioned the first excavator. And what we did is, I told them, I said, we are seizing this asset, and I said, it's now belongs to the Laksamasu clan government. And I thought, I was going to have to put on a fight for a few days. And I went home back to Wet'suwet'en that night, and I came back, and all of the pieces of equipment were gone. They removed all of the pipe off that stretch of pipeline, and we were kind of. They did this all within 24 hours, So they had to, we had them on a run, but then they moved on to another one of our territories, which was up in the Clore, which was like 80 kilometers in. And what they did was, they were escorting us in. They were going to show us the territory, and I had a bunch of Giksan chiefs with me, and we were going to show them all of the degradation. And what they did was some of our historical sites were completely bulldozed over, as well as just a complete desecration of our sites. Was just shameful, by what CGL did. And in place of where they plowed over the Guise Trail and all of the historical sites, they just put signs up. This is where this was, all along the road. So what happened is CGL blockaded us from going onto our own land. And that goes all against their permit. Their permit stated that they must let us, Wet'suwet'en people, onto our own territory. And what they did is they blockaded. When they were bringing us in, they kept stalling us as we were caravanning in with a group of people. And finally, when we got to the end of the road, one of the guys gets on the radio and he says, okay, let them by. We got all our blockades up. And they used their big rock trucks there for blockading myself as a Wet'suwet'en chief, as well as Zebetsa and a bunch of the Giksan chiefs that we were going to be giving a tour of the Clore. And this is where that campaign started, for where I ended up again in the middle of the night. We removed their blockade. They had two blockades up to get onto the territory that I belong to. And when we did remove those blockades, we got up and we set up our own blockade there about 8 kilometers further up the road. And there I was right in the center of my territory, so that, I was well within my rights there, to defend that, because as the last speaker said, under Delgamuukw was very, very clear that when they made the final decision in 1997 that the Wet'suwet'en's title and rights predate the provincial and federal crown and has never been extinguished, meaning there that the 22,000 square kilometers was ours and that there was no ifs, buts, or maybes. And, the magistrate completely ignored all of that when she gave the injunction. What she says, she's not going to allow any constitutional argument for the injunction. And when I talked to one of my lawyers about that, he says, yes, he says, that's understandable. There's a very narrow window for injunctions as to what you could bring up as argument. And one of her main argument was that if we stop CGL's pipeline, they stand to lose more than the Wet'suwet'en. And never taken into account there that, over the past 70 years, after they moved us off the land, put us on reserves, that there was billions and billions of dollars of resources extracted from our territory provincially. And these are big corporations, Canfor, West Fraser, and Skeena Cellulose. All of these big companies are just basically nuked the Wet'suwet'en territory. And none of this was taken into account. And so we're in a situation there where, the RCMP are conducting themselves, not very honorably, because they are working strictly for industry. They are not working for, the people. They're supposed to serve and protect. And this is not what they were doing. They're being very abusive with all of our land defenders and muscling them around, trying to provoke them into violence. And they even, the strong-armed a lot of them and hurt them, and they didn't resist. And they ended up just dropping the charges because all the videos that showed it was just a complete show of force by the RCMP. So what is going down now is I'm in court. I'm in court for contempt because I violated the injunction. And not only did I violate the injunction, they also got me up on criminal charges for seizing, because I seized in a neighborhood of 9 assets. And this is heavy equipment, by dismantling, all of the batteries on them and protecting the assets so that CGL couldn't take them back. And what we were going to do is force CGL back into the room. And what would happen if we got them into the room? Also, we were going to have our lawyers with the serial numbers contact the rental outfits that are supplying all this equipment and have them go through a process, an appeal process to get their equipment back. And none of that happened because the RCMP interjected and charged me and moved me off my own territory. And I ended up only 24 hours in jail, but nevertheless, we are gonna take this fight. And they offered me plea bargains, to, if I do not, they wanted me to plead guilty and do 80 hours of 80 community hours or 30 days in jail. So these are things that they're doing. And now they want another plea bargain of, as the date goes on, the penalty becomes more severe for me, but myself, I told the lawyer we were going to take it, we're going to go into trial with this one because now that it's criminal, now we got all the constitutional arguments there that we could bring in. And this is going to work, I think, to our benefits. So I'm sure that they're probably going to do some risk assessment and decide there that, it's probably not going to be in their favor, to go too far with this, but we'll see that. I would like to see it go to trial, and I would like to see us come out with a very favorable decision. And we got a lot of, different arguments, the Constitution and the Charter, on different areas there. So that's going to be working on our favor. So all I can say is keep up the good fight there. And, I'm so proud of the Mohawks there for, shutting down Canada on our behalf a year ago. and all of the nations across Canada, because they shut down ports, they shut down railways, they shut down freeways, they shut down everything. And that's what forced the province, for the first time in BC's history, to recognize and come to sign an MOU with the 13 House Chiefs. And the MOU is recognizing House governments, because we got 13 houses and we're not running it as a government. Those 13 houses have territories with them. So each of those territories are going to be governed and run by the House groups there that is responsible for them, and always has been. Because during the Delgamuukw case, all of our expert witnesses showed that the Gitxsan and the Wet'suwet'en, own the land, or been on the land since at least the last ice age, and have their own government structure. They have their own taxation system. They have all of their own laws, and it's going to be quite an interesting situation there that I'm going to be going into. And my first appearance there for making my plea is going to be on the 20th of this month. And the court case is probably not going to move forward probably until at least next March, April, somewhere around there, because the CGL will be doing preparation for the trial, as well as the RCMP. And the RCMP is actually the one that did all the charges, so CGL is just their witnesses, because they did all the videoing, and they furnished the RCMP with all of the videotapes of my conduct. And it's going to be interesting. I'm certainly looking forward to the outcome, because it's something there that we finally got a venue to be able to express ourselves. And I think that's going to show very promising there for our people.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much. And
thank you so much, Chief Dstahyl.
Thank you, Tom.